All right, welcome back to the Koinonia podcast. Here with Sandy Runner. Again, thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
We'll pretend as if it's not the same day of the previous podcast. So what we'd like to talk about is prevention. Okay, and we're talking about foster care and adoption and support services and this industry that we've built around helping kids. But is it truly necessary? And so I asked Sandy to come back and tell a story that I just love. Go for it.
Sure. Yeah, so prevention is just such a critical consideration in the entire process. And an example that I had read about many years ago was this story of a turn in a town that was particularly dangerous, and people would regularly take this turn too fast and come around, and there would be an accident. And so the town had essentially built up this entire infrastructure around coming and helping the people who had crashed their car coming around this turn. So the ambulance would come and take people and bring them back to the hospital, and they would clean up the mess and the wreckage, and the town had essentially rallied around supporting these people who had these accidents and had these terrible things happen. But rather than just coming and putting up a sign and saying, slow down, take this turn, know that this happens, or some type of barrier to help prevent that from occurring, instead they were trying to solve the problem after the fact. And I think we tend to regularly get in those situations, not only just in foster care, but in our lives sometimes, where we're trying to, even address, and I honestly, with foster kids a lot of times too, where we're trying to address what's coming out rather than getting to the root of the problem and really stopping. Just one other example to me that always resonated is the idea of this factory that's regularly producing, kind of these broken pieces. And so there's a job around repairing these broken pieces rather than getting into the factory and getting on the front end of it and stopping the broken pieces from coming out. How can we prevent those issues?
It makes me think about the dental office. It's like, I have to go to the dentist, but I know how not to have to go to the dentist. I just have to brush my teeth, right? Sometimes prevention is...
You're right.
Sometimes
in our
it's just
own life,
easier.
we do it.
Well, and then there's also people who built job security around it, right?
It's true.
And so we have governments and agencies who are like, whoa.
Right.
Don't put that sign up. Because,
that ambulance driver is going, well, hold on.
where does their job go?
Right.
Right. And that, oh my gosh. And if you don't know, and you're watching this, the industry in foster care and adoption is millions, maybe billions. I don't know. It's a federal thing. It's a state thing. It's a county thing. We're talking huge amounts of jobs. But here's what's really interesting. The federal government, at the time of this recording, it is, what are we in? We're in 2021. We're just coming out of COVID. Thank God. And, we're just coming into the summer. And there are laws coming into effect this year of 2021 that is going to change how foster care funds can be used. And what it's going to do is it's going to say, hey, prevention. So it actually took the federal government to come in and smack us and say, you're going to use this money on prevention, not just this industry post-accident. And so what that means is we wait until parents screw up bad enough where they hurt their kids. And then we built this industry. And it's like, wait a second, why are we not going in and offering more services? An example would be California, I think, has a First Five program. Okay. Amazing institution, and they help families with kids 0 to 5, and they do a lot of great good. But imagine that much bigger, where we're actually coming in and helping. And so I love that story. It's very helpful to understand that, we have people in California who still want to foster. They still want to adopt. They still want to be part of helping kids. And I'm here to say that it's still going to happen. Okay. But what's going to be available? And I really believe that what we're going to see is teens, right? They're shutting group homes down. The foster care system is going to be short term, and any kid that's going to last more than a few months is probably going to be a teenager. Now, you adopted a teen.
Yes.
Right?
12 years old.
Right. And that was even before it was popular,
yes.
Right?
Long before.
Yeah, there's actually a video I watched yesterday called Unadopted. So if you're interested, it's on YouTube, Unadopted or Unadoptable, I think. And it's a story of a couple teens, 3 teens, who one was adopted, actually here in Granite Bay, and then other ones that just never got adopted. And they and basically it's like, why did I get adopted? Why did they get adopted? Why did I not get adopted? And so I think it's kind of amazing that your story of adopting a teen, although I would imagine difficult,
very challenging.
you know, but if you adopt a 2-year-old, they become a teen.
Right.
So you're adopting a teen eventually, right?
Yeah.
At one point. What would you say to people who are thinking about adoption, who are thinking probably younger kids or private adoption, but we know that the biggest group is teens that are sitting out there?
You know, for us, we really went into it pretty open-minded. We wanted to be foster parents so that we could help a child that needed a home. And, you know, we had really no idea what we were signing up for in terms of adoption versus foster care or any of that. And basically, when we were sitting in the office of the social worker, they said to us, you know, this child is 12 and you're kind of his last chance, essentially. I mean, he's not going to get adopted at this point. He's not probably going to end up in any long-term placement. He's been in 8 homes in the last 6 years, you know, since he was 6 years old. He's a big boy, and, you know, he's likely to not get adopted. And, you know, we didn't necessarily know we were signing up for adoption, but we said, you know, bring it on. We're going to take this on. And just, you know, as we really started to learn about the system and just the challenges that these kids go through, and him knowing that he was probably not going to get adopted based on the statistics, it was heartbreaking. I you know, yes, it was a challenge, but I think, you know, my bio kids challenge me every day. They're becoming teens and they're driving. And
Amen. If my kids are watching, my adult children.
And I tell you, I mean, it's hard work one way or another. And I can't even fathom, you know, a kid feeling like I'm never going to have a family. I know when he came to live with us, we started looking at the math of it just from the standpoint of, okay, you got college in 6 years and we didn't really prepare for that. And we're a young couple.
Well,
we don't have any other kids.
What happens to those kids if they don't get adopted?
Right.
They turn 18. They might get to 21. Foster care can extend to 21. But they don't have a family. They don't have the support. And the homelessness statistics and the pregnancy statistics is horrible for foster kids.
It's absolutely. And the statistics of them, the likelihood of them to then have kids who end up in foster care as well, when you talk about prevention, is significant. And you know, and so we talked to him about, hey, what if we just became your legal guardian so that we would still have this, you know, this funding from the government in terms of dependency status? And he said, no, I have to be adopted. I have to be adopted. I have to know that I am like locked into a family.
That's really interesting because that came up in the video too, this idea that agencies and foster parents encourage kids not to be adopted because it hurts with their college funding, because foster kids get college funding. And so what an amazing thing for a child to say, I would rather have an adopted family, have a family that is mine, than a college education that's cheaper.
Right.
I know that's conflicted because the parent says, well, who's going to pay for the college?
That's exactly where we were.
But I'm sure by the time any kid that you adopt, if you're watching this video, college is going to be free.
Yeah, exactly.
Junior college already is, I believe. Biden's going to make everything free, right? Everything in the world. So, wow, that's so deep, though. That's such an amazing story.
And it was really compelling for us. And you know, we went. After that, we turned around not very many years later and did a Safe Families process with a teen boy, big teen boy, you know,
which is a voluntary
system. And for me, it was after seeing, exactly to your point, after seeing what our son Raider had gone through just in the foster care system and bouncing around and sort of that feeling, I really came to this conclusion of, we've got to prevent this. Like I can keep taking in foster kids and I can keep trying to kind of fix this problem, but how do I get in front of it?
Yeah.
How do I get to the core, to the meat of a family and say, let's stop this from happening? So the 12-year-old boy that we then took into our home several years later was living in a youth homeless shelter not far from foster care. You know, mom was struggling with an addiction, And our Safe Families team came around mom and really supported her. We took her son into our home, and he lived with us off and on for the course of the year. And really, still we help parent him, to this day from afar. But she was able to get herself together. He was able to get on track. He had all Fs when we met with him. When he came to live with us, we got him up to all passing grades, and it completely changes the dynamic of, in my mind, that is a foster kid who would have been stuck in the system, aged out of the system, that was prevented.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So whether it's working with families that are not in the system or trying to adopt or help a teen that is in the system, there's a huge need for teens, and that's where it's going to be at. And if you have a heart to adopt, I get it that it's a desire to have a baby in your home. But in many babies in foster care, there has been many young people adopted through foster care. I do believe there's going to be a turn, and it's going to change, and it's going to be about helping those that are in the system now. And so I beg the world to have a heart to foster and maybe even adopt a teenager.
Yeah, Bill, I always say it's about finding a home for a kid rather than finding a kid for a home. Mm-hmm. So, going into it looking as we're a family looking for a kid versus, there's a kid out there looking for a family.
Yeah,
and I want to be the family that the kid is looking for. I don't want to be me looking for a kid to go into the home.
Now, it is scary. It is hard. You will find behaviors. But I do encourage you to go with a great agency like Koinonia, where you get all the support that we possibly can offer, even if we don't get paid for it.
I agree.
Anyway, we're going to wrap this one up. Thank you for viewing. Thank you for coming again.
Yes.
Same day. She left and came back. It was great. We will see you next time.